Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first meeting of the General Laws and Technology Committee this year. Since this is our first meeting, we'll introduce ourselves quickly. Here, I'm George Barker, the chair of General Laws and Technology, and represent parts of Alexandria, Prince William, and Fairfax County. Why don't we go down to our newest member, Senator Kiggins.
I'm Jen Kiggins, and I represent the 7th Senate District of Virginia, which is Virginia Beach and a little bit in Norfolk.
Jennifer Boysko, District 33, which is Eastern Loudoun from Leesburg, Dulles Airport, to northwestern Fairfax County, including the town of Herndon.
Todd Pillion, 40th Senate District, Lee, Scott, Wise, Washington, with Smith, Grayson, and the city of Bristol. It's half of Southwest Virginia.
And a very pretty place. Monty Mason, 1st Senate District, the Virginia Peninsula.
Siobhan Donovan, 12th Senate District, Western Henrico and Hanover.
Adam Eben from the 30th District, parts of South Arlington, Central and Eastern Alexandria, and Fairfax.
Frank Ruff, 15th District, which is much of Southern Virginia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jill Vogel, the 27th Senate District, which is the Northern Valley and the Piedmont.
Mamie Lott, 2nd Senate District, parts of the cities of Hampton, Newport News, Portsmouth, and part of York County.
Bryce Reeves, I'm between Senator Locke and McPike.
Senator Jeremy McPike, 29th District, Prince William, Manassas, and Manassas Park.
Hi, John Bell. Represent the 13th District. It's Loudoun County and Prince William County, parts of. Thank you.
Ghazala Hashmi, representing the 10th District, parts of Chesterfield County, part of City of Richmond, and all of Powhatan County.
And our staff?
I'm Ashley Benz, helping out with Senate General Laws this year.
I'm Brooks Braun, and we're both from the Division of Legislative Services.
I'm Hobie Lehman with the Senate Clerk's Office.
Autumn Green, backing up Hobie.
All right. Thank you all. Yeah. Yeah. All right. We just before we get into presentations on the bills, there's a few bills that need motions to take action on things. Huh? What?
Roll. Call the roll.
Oh, call the roll.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
All right. Well, thank you very much. There are 3 patrons who wish to have their bills stricken. The bills that are proposed to be stricken are Senate Bill 322 from Senator Lewis, Senate Bill 342 from Senator Locke, and Senate Bill 348 from Senator Lucas. Can we have a motion to strike those 3 bills?
Stricken in a block.
All right. There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, record your votes aye. All opposed, no.
It's not letting you proxy either.
All right, now it's up there. So.
Oh, will it? Okay, we'll let you proxy.
There we go. All right, I'll see y'all later.
All right, thank you. That motion to strike passes. Then we have several bills where people have asked that to be passed by for the day. Senate Bill 162, 182, and then Senate Bills 321, 341, 346, 385, and 475. Can I have a motion to pass those bills by? Those bills are all in favor for the board. All in favor, say aye. Those bills are passed by for the day. And then we have a few bills that need to be referred. A few bills that need to be re-referred to another committee. First one is Senate Bill 195 from Senator Castro. Request is to refer that to courts of justice.
Joy.
All right, now we had a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All right, that bill is re-referred. Senate Bill 607 from Senator Norman, be referred to courts of justice dealing with the Public Procurement Act. Motion to re-refer that bill.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor of re-referring that to courts of justice, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed, say no. That is re-referred to courts of justice. Also, a referral to courts of justice is Senate Bill 694 from Senator Obenchain related to notaries. Is there a motion to re-refer that to courts of justice?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of re-referring that to courts of justice, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That bill is re-referred to courts of justice. Senate Bill 521 from Senator McDougal on Medicaid fiscal oversight and accountability. The motion would be to re-refer to the Education and Health Committee. All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? All in favor of re-referring Senate Bill 521 to Education and Health, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. All right, and then last one on the re-referrals is Senate Joint Resolution 31 from Senator Castro, and that would be re-referred to the Rules Committee. Motion to that effect.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, no. That one is referred to.
Second.
I didn't hear that one. So my hearing is failing these days. All right, first on the sign-up list is Senator Dees. Okay. I don't see a Senator Dees. All right, next is Senator Deestat.
That's right, courts is meeting. That's where they are.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee.
Yes.
Speak loud. First one we have is Senate Bill 369, which is a Section 1 bill that encourages the purchase of iron, steel, and manufactured goods that are made in the United States by public bodies to the greatest extent possible. The Department shall develop and maintain a guidance document to assist state public bodies to purchase iron, steel, and other goods that are made in the United States, manufactured goods, with at least 50% of the constituent parts and materials originating in the United States.
All right. Are there any questions of the paper?
No buttons with a.
Yes.
It's not working, John.
Mr. Chairman,
Speak loudly.
I'll try to speak loud. Mr. Chairman, a simple question. I mean, I like the idea of the bill. My only question is there fiscal impact we know on this? Because I know sometimes it might be more expensive if we do the purchases overseas.
This is what we call a Section 1 encouragement bill, so it encourages them to do so. And I believe we may have a speaker or two from the governor's office.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Those in favor of the bill, come forward.
Or not.
Buy American. Anybody in opposition to the bill, come forward now.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Sandra Gill with the Department of General Services. We are here in opposition of the bill. Yes, the bill is a Section 1 bill, but it directs DGS to establish guidance for the purchase of steel and manufactured goods. This is in conflict with the VPPA, which the intent is that it's open to all, as well as that we seek competition to the maximum degree feasible. To put this requirement and give the encouragement to agencies to use this would create a preference for U.S. companies when we seek to bring in foreign companies to establish here in the States. So there would be an indeterminate fiscal impact where we may be paying more for the goods and services.
All right. Any questions? All right. Thank
Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chairman. Tyler Minnick from the Virginia Chamber of Commerce. We oppose this legislation and have voiced our concerns to the patron. While we understand this is a guidance document and that is ensured to assist agencies, we are concerned that this could become a requirement in the future. We're concerned that this could harm Virginia's business climate by imposing expansive procurement requirements that would prevent certain companies from bidding on contracts. Ultimately, this proposal would disadvantage companies that utilize international supply chains, many of whom must purchase their specialty materials, including steel and iron products, abroad because domestic manufacturers don't have the capacity or capability to produce the desired products in terms of quantity or quality. And for those reasons, we ask you to oppose the legislation.
Does anybody else want to be heard on the bill?
Mr. Chairman. Senator, do you have any percentage in your thought process of what would be fair?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Senator Ruff, we highly encourage, again, this is a Section 1 bill, that the manufactured goods have at least 50% of the constituent parts and materials originating in the United States. Again, this is a highly encouraged bill, but it is for American jobs and it is by American.
Any other questions? All right, any discussion or a motion on the bill? Is there a second to that? Second. All right, motion's been made and seconded to report the bill. Any discussion? Who's that? Yeah. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, no?
No.
How little the noes have it? People want to?
Please. Yeah, I have to record the vote.
Roll call.
Senator Barker.
No.
Senator Ruff.
Aye.
Senator Locke.
No.
Senator Vogel.
Aye.
Senator Eben.
Nay by proxy.
Senator Reeves.
Reeves votes aye.
Senator McPike.
No.
Senator Donovan.
Aye.
Senator Mason.
Nay.
Senator Boysko.
No by proxy.
Senator Stewart. Senator Pillion. Aye. I'm sorry. Senator Bell.
No.
Senator Hashmi.
No.
Senator Kiggins.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ayes, 8 nays.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to clarify that was for Senate Bill 369. I know what's up on the screen is not Senate Bill 369.
And you're not Senator Lewis like that.
Exactly.
All right.
And, Mr. Chairman, if I may, my next bill is Senate Bill 1169, the Apprentice Agreements and Ratio Bill. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, you know today in a lot of the electrical, plumbing, HVAC, a lot of the jobs out there, we really do have a shortage of employees. Oh. I'm sorry, Senate Bill 371. And what this bill does is, with a shortage of jobs and available labor pools for electricians, plumbers, HVAC, carpenters, what this does is changes the ratio from one journeyman, and a journeyman is basically somebody who's mastered the trade, in the oversight of an apprentice. An apprentice is anyone who has no experience up to 2,000 hours of experience, so a year of experience, year plus. And, Mr. Chairman, with our unemployment rate as an example in Virginia Beach of being just below 2.4%, it's very difficult for the trades to find enough journeymen to train the apprentices. So with a ratio of 1 to 2, we'd like to see that closer to 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 to ensure that we're bringing up the next level of plumbers, electricians, pipe fitters, bricklayers. Mr. Chairman, that's the bill.
Any questions of the patron?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes.
Senator, does this include welding industry such as shipbuilding and that such?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Senator Reese.
Mr. Chairman. Beg your pardon. Sorry, mics came back on. I'm loud enough as it is. Senator Steph, we talked about this a lot last year because we agree that, boy, do we need more tradesmen and more trained people and all those lines of work that you mentioned. Where we could never figure last year was how does reducing the number of journeymen that supervise increase the supply of people that we're incredibly short of to get them on the job?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Senator Mason, we don't have a shortage of people interested in becoming apprenticeships. We have a shortage of journeymen being able to manage or to oversee the apprenticeships. A good example is one of the businesses in your district does electrical. They have plenty of apprenticeships coming in. They don't have the journeymen or the master electricians to oversee the number of associates. Now, they check behind them. They oversee everything they do. Same with our plumbers and other trades. And truly, one journeyman or one expert can oversee half a dozen individuals and check their work and go through everything. It's not that hard. Where we have a problem right now is the number of journeymen on the job or the number of masters on the job. We can only have one of those per 2 apprentices. And that's where we keep running into a challenge with this.
Mr. Chairman, so you're right, this does impact a great business in my region. We had a lot of conversations the all season. In fact, they have jobs right now that they can't find electricians for. So not even the train, much less the apprentice to come on the job. So I take issue with the supply being there. But my follow-up question would be, you said it's not that hard to oversee them. All right, this is electrical work, bringing in newly, while training people. Are you in any way concerned with the safety element of spreading out less oversight to people that are just starting on the job? And this is an industry where they work 4 years and they go on the job and they're considered to be green. Are you concerned about the safety element of this at all?
Well, again, a master electrician, and I have a degree in electrical engineering, so I'm pretty good, and I can tell you that it's not hard for me to check the work of 6 people, 8 people in that field, and it's pretty basic how to wire up a basic circuit, how to wire up, and the first time you do it, from there it's just repetitive. When you're looking, and again, there's more work than they have folks, and they don't have a problem getting apprentices in your district. That's not a problem at all. They have a problem with the journeymen overseeing. You need more journeymen to oversee all the apprentices because they can suck in a huge pipeline of apprentices. But once you do 1 floor of an office building, literally the next 30 floors are pretty much the exact same. And on your apprentices, you have them basically pulling the wire through. You have them doing the basics of wiring up a circuit, wiring up a electrical outlet, wiring up a switch, and then there's 20 different ways you can test it and make sure it's right. As a matter of fact, in all of these circuits, you have a little light you can buy at Home Depot for about $7 or Lowe's. You can plug in there and it tells you if it's wired correctly in a matter of seconds. So it's not very difficult to do this. And any good electrician, any good electrical engineer can stand there and truly look at it and tell you if it's wired up right or not. You can walk through and make sure that there's a GFIC at every single sink, around every sink. You can make sure that everything's loaded up the right way. It's pretty simple to do. And on those little electrical testers, you plug it in, you hit a button, kicks the GFIC off, you reset it, you know the circuit's done properly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the gentleman.
All right. Any other questions of the patron? All right. Public testimony. Are there those who are in favor of the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Nicole Riley with the National Federation of Independent Business. We have a pretty strong contingency of members in our membership that are in the very trades skills. In fact, when we do our national surveys for the last year, their number one issue at this point, over 26% of them say that finding skilled workers is an issue for them. And so we just think this opens up the opportunity that as they are able to get more individuals interested in the skills, they would be able to get them through the pipeline of training and that kind of thing, which would be able to help them. So for that reason, we have supported this bill for the last several years and ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Terry Durkin, Vice President of Public Policy for the Roanoke Regional Chamber, and we support the bill.
On behalf of Associated Builders and Contractors, we support this bill.
Jason Parker, Virginia State Building Construction Trades Council, 30-year electrician. I've trained apprentices. I was on the Joint Apprenticeship Training Committee for 5 years. I represent 8,000 working families in the building trades, all the disciplines. This is a terrible idea. We have more journeymen by not just a little, but by a lot in the state than we have apprentices. Apprentices, putting young Virginians, and I hate to say this, but the electrical field is a whole lot more than receptacles, okay? I worked on the largest motors on the East Coast. They will spit you out like hamburger. And these young people don't understand the consequences and the reality. I watched a guy call the ambulance for him when I was a second-year apprentice, had his arm completely mutilated by 10,000 volts, pulled the spit out of his mouth, eyes rolled back in his head, talking to who knows what in syllables. It is a dangerous world out there. Let's not throw these young Virginians into that. That's crazy. We can teach anybody to do a receptacle, but the electrical world's humongous. It goes from everything from 110,000 volts on down to 2.5. And there are different disciplines. Do not put them in them heavy industrial environments like that, all just wantonly like it's simple and easy. Please don't do that. Thank you.
Next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, my name is Greg Ackerman. I represent the Carpenters Union. We strongly oppose this bill because it would put young construction workers at risk. For what it's worth, most high-quality contractors will maintain a ratio of about 4 journeymen to 1 apprentice because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our apprentices are actually getting a good on-the-job experience that will allow them to maintain a good skilled career in the trades. And for that reason, we strongly oppose this very dangerous bill.
Thank you. Next.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, Lou Spencer, Corrette, Virginia, Plumbers and Gasfitters Local 5, Virginia Building and Construction Trades, Mid-Atlantic Pipe Trades. We oppose this bill. This is a safety issue. We do not need inexperienced people putting in fuel gas piping systems and medical gas piping systems in hospitals. Please oppose this. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Victoria Leonard, and I'm with the Baltimore-Washington Laborers District Council, which is part of LIUNA. We have 7,500 members in Virginia, and I'm here today to oppose this bill. Without the appropriate ratio between journey persons and apprentices, there will be more accidents and injuries, so I ask you to vote against this bill. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Felix Shapiro. I'm a workforce policy analyst in the Office of Governor Ralph Northam, and I'm here to voice opposition to this bill on the part of the administration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any others who wish to be heard? All right, any discussion or motion on the bill? Yes.
If this is going to work. Thanks. Senator DeStaff, I am just curious, is this a prescriptive bill or is it just permissive? Does it mandate that they have more than the 1-to-2 ratio?
This is permissive, Mr. Chairman, Senator Donovan. This is a permissive bill. There's going to be certain areas where you're truly, if you're talking about 480 volts or you're talking about up to 10,000 volts, certainly you're going to have a 1-to-1, or you may not even have an apprentice on that. There are certain things that you're not going to put an apprentice in the middle of. And, but on other things, you would want to, whether you're doing just simple drainage pipes or toilets or sinks, things like that. But hope that answers your question.
Any other discussion or questions for the patron? Floor is open for a motion.
Move to report.
All right, motion is to report, and it's been seconded. Any further discussion? All right, are we doing the voting on the board now? All right, we're going to try this again here, so. All in favor vote aye, those opposed no. What do you want? Yeah.
Ayes 4, noes 10.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next one. Now I've lost all my speakers. Okay, Senator Searle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two, which I think are pretty easy.
It wasn't personal that I didn't.
It's all good.
Just not on the board here.
Got it. So I got Senate Bill 630, I think, first.
630.
And on 630, I have a substitute, and then I have a line amendment. We got to do the substitute first.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we have a substitute. Is the substitute ready to be delivered or distributed? Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, while that's being distributed, what this bill has to do with is electric vehicles, homeowner associations, condos, and co-ops. It basically just tries to create a roadmap for HOAs, condos, and co-ops to regulate time, place, and manner, or what kinds of restrictions they can place on the installation of electric vehicle chargers. But it basically comes out of the right to charge concept. So several states have passed legislation saying that HOAs and condos cannot prohibit owners from installing electric vehicle chargers on their property. It's more of an issue for condos and co-ops than it is for HOAs, and this bill has been. I worked with the Community Association Institute, Pia Trigiani, and to come up with an acceptable language for them, and this represents probably about 4 or 5 back and forths with them to come to an agreement. The first part of it has to do with homeowners associations, 55.1, 1823.1. And I have one line amendment I'd like to make with it, which I believe they're okay with. I talked about it in the hallway, and I think they're cool. But on line 16, after the word on, it just needs to say the exterior of, and then the property owned by the lot owner. So that just makes it clear that homeowner associations cannot do regulations on what you can install, say, in your garage or inside your house, but on anything on the exterior, they can do like how many or color or whether you have to put on a wood post or not or whatever. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Just point of order. I move that we adopt the substitute and then address the line amendment.
Yeah.
No, actually, I did not do the adopting the substitute because most of us didn't have it at the time. So the senator was actually just explaining things. So there is the substitute to be adopted here. There was a motion and a second. So if there's no further discussion on that, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. All right, the substitute's been adopted.
And then I need that line amendment made.
All right. There's a motion and a second to do the line amendment on line 16, adding after on the exterior of. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. All right, that line amendment is adopted.
Okay, and then the next statute, 55.1, 19.6.
Wait. Okay.
No, I'm in the same bill.
Same bill. Okay.
1962.1 is that has to do with condos, and the last one has to do with co-ops. The condo one is a little different because condominium associations, some of them have some parking spots are technically limited common elements, and some of them are actually referred to as part of the condominium in the real estate docs. And so this covers both of those contingencies. And then you can see the 10 different things that HOAs or condo associations can do in terms of setting restrictions on installation. Like they have to get a licensed electrician. They can require a licensed electrician. There's some limited circumstances they can reject them if it's not technically feasible or creates a safety risk or something. And there's also language in here that requires the homeowner to indemnify the HOA or the condo association in case there's some kind of an explosion or something like that. And that would be covered by most or all HOA and condo insurance. I checked with the insurance industry. They say this will work. I don't believe there's any opposition to the bill, and I'd hope the committee would pass it.
Questions of the patron? All right, time for public testimony. Anybody who's in favor of the bill, please come forward. Anybody opposed to the bill, come forward. All right. All right, we have a motion to report. Is there a second? Yeah. All right, any further discussion? All right, we will vote on your machines here, so.
Ayes 13, no 0.
And one abstention, yeah.
Sorry, one abstention.
Okay. And the next
All
one's
right,
628.
and so that is reported 13 to 0 to 1.
The next
Yeah.
one is 628.
628.
Okay, 628 has to do with what are technically called building energy analysts under the code, but more colloquially, we call them home energy auditors. Back in 2011, the state, Senator Wagner actually and I passed legislation requiring the licensure of building energy analysts or home energy auditors. These are basically people that go into your house, they put a blower door on your door, suck all the air out of your house, run around, look for leaks, do an analysis of your energy, give you a report, tell you what to fix. So what this bill does is it requires realtors to advise if in a transaction where there's a realtor involved in drafting the purchase contract, it creates a duty requiring the realtor to advise the home buyer of the availability of a home energy audit. It's the same language exists for home inspections, which is why every time you go to buy a house, they give you a home energy inspection addendum for the contract, which you can either choose to put on or not put on. And this would do the same thing. It would require them to have a home energy audit addendum for you to potentially use in your contract. You don't have to use it if you don't want to use it. But if you did, you could require a home energy audit to be done as part of the purchase of the home. So the home energy audit would give you a list of repairs or things to be done to the house to make it more energy efficient before that closing on the house could occur. The idea is to try to encourage more home energy audits to occur in the Commonwealth, which would save a lot of money, energy, carbon, et cetera, money, whatever. And I worked with the realtors on this. I appreciate their feedback. The bill looked very different before they took a whack at it. And I think in the form it's in, I'm sorry, also I want to mention it was also vetted and approved by the Housing Commission over the summer, where we had, I think, 2 or 3 meetings about this and stakeholder feedback, input, insurance companies looked at it and everything. So I think there's peace in the valley. I'd hope you'd approve it.
Question for the patron. I'm just curious, Senator Serville, is this going to increase my legal costs when I close on my next house?
Not your legal costs. Hopefully it will save you money, because the home energy audit costs about $500, and usually with the recommendations they make, they can save you thousands over a decade. So.
Mr. Chairman, is that a yes or no?
It was a yes and no. All right, any further questions from the committee of the patron? Okay, all in support of the bill, come forward and wish to speak, so. All right. Anybody in opposition to the bill or wishes to be heard? All right. All right, there's a motion to second to report the bill. Any further discussion? All right, vote on the board.
Ayes 11, noes 3.
All right, the bill is reported.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to have to leave to go to chair another committee now. But Senator Locke is going to take over. She chaired this committee for 4 years, so she has plenty of experience in being able to handle things here. And just one other housekeeping thing. There's going to be a subcommittee that's set up that Senator McPike is going to chair to deal with the gambling and gaming issues that are before this subcommittee. So we'll get everybody notified on that in the next day or so and move forward with that thing. The intent is to try to get all the bills looked at and evaluated in fairly good detail by the subcommittee, so that when it comes here, we'll be ready to take action and have options that are there. So Senator Locke, you're in charge. So. Yes. Oh, yeah. I got a list, but I didn't have.
I'll tell you later.
Yeah.
I haven't made you mad.
No. Never.
Now there's somebody
Peterson's not here. Favola, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to present Senate Bill 115. And I do have an amendment in the nature of a substitute.
Hold on. Is
Did you
there
want
a substitute?
Well, actually, we're removing one of the strikeouts, but we're also adding a new paragraph E. Would you like to distribute that? Okay. Thank you.
So it's just amendments, not a substitute? Okay.
Well, I'm not clear when you call something just amendments or an amendment in the nature of a substitute. Whichever you call it.
These are just amendments.
I would respectfully ask that you adopt them.
Okay, so
Okay.
we will report the amendments.
Okay, great, thank you. So what the bill does, the amended version is on line 27.
Hold on, Senator Favola. We will have the clerk report the amendments.
Okay.
So, Senate Bill 115, line 27, introduced after tenant strike, the remainder of line 27, and through section 36.1 et sec on line 28. The second line amendment, line 27, introduced after tenant, insert by a public housing authority organized under the Housing Authorities Law, section 36-1 et sec. And line amendment 3, line 32, introduced after E, insert no notice of termination served by a private landlord upon a tenant receiving tenant-based rental assistance through 1, the Housing Choice Voucher Program, 42 USC section 1437 F O or 2, any other federal, state, or local program shall be effective unless it contains on its first page in type no smaller or less legible than that otherwise used in the body of the notice, the statewide legal aid telephone number and the statewide legal aid website address, and then paragraph F.
Okay, a motion on the amendments. It's moved and seconded that we adopt the amendments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Senator Favola.
Okay, so the bill before you retains the current law that any public housing authority shall, on an eviction notice, indicate the number and the name, number, address and telephone number of the legal services program in that jurisdiction. It adds a new paragraph and says that any private landlord upon a tenant receiving tenant-based rental assistance, through a housing choice voucher program or any other federal, state, or local program, if an eviction is to be issued by this private landlord to this publicly subsidized tenant, then they must, on the eviction notice, also provide as you can see, smaller or less legible writing, the body of the notice, the statewide legal aid telephone number and legal aid website address. We decided that the statewide legal aid office was probably the easiest and most well-known conduit for a private landlord to be able to identify. There was some concern by many stakeholders that a private landlord would not necessarily know of the nearest local legal aid office, so we decided to have a private landlord list the statewide legal aid office, and they can make referrals. The purpose of this bill is to just allow tenants an opportunity if they feel that they were wronged or that the eviction notice should be challenged. It gives them an opportunity to challenge the eviction notice. And certainly our legal aid programs are best equipped, they're most knowledgeable, and have the most experience in this landlord-tenant housing area. So with that explanation, I respectfully ask that the committee adopt the proposal.
Are there any questions?
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
Senator Ruff.
Does it concern you at all that if you put more restrictions for the private company individual that's running, that they will leave the program completely?
We, Mr. Chair, Madam Chair and Senator Ruff, that's a really good question. And we debated that, and that's part of the reason we decided to put down the statewide legal aid. We did have some private landlords and actually the Virginia Realtors was part of the stakeholder group. They did not think that this requirement on the private landlords would be so prohibitive people would decide not to participate in the housing voucher, in taking tenants with the housing voucher program. That was their determination. And so I'll have to rely on the information I received from my stakeholder group.
Other questions? Senator Reeves.
Senator Favola, this is the first I've ever heard of a statewide legal aid telephone number or statewide legal aid and website. Is that run under the Attorney General's office, or where is that? Is that the Secretary of the Commonwealth?
It's in one of our administrative agencies, and I believe it is in the department. I want to say it's in the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Chair,
but I will ask.
Is that only for just housing, or is that for all matters?
The statewide legal aid telephone number, well,
you got a lifeline.
Statewide legal aids, it provides a number of services, so I will defer to an expert.
Senator, my name is Laura Wright, and I'm with the Virginia Poverty Law Center. The State Services Corporation, they have a statewide phone number, and so when a tenant calls it, it directs them to the appropriate legal aid office. There's 9 across the Commonwealth.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Favola.
Other questions to the patron? Are there those here who wish to speak in favor of the legislation?
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Chip Dix here on behalf of the Realtors, and we appreciate Senator Favola working with us, and the amendments address our concerns, and we support the bill. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Hey, Laura Wright again with the Virginia Poverty Law Center, and we support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman, Brian Gordon on behalf of the Virginia Apartment and Management Association and the Apartment and Office Building Association. We also support the bill as amended.
Thank you. Are there those here who are in opposition to the bill? It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 115 be reported. Is there any further discussion? Those in favor, please record your votes.
Ayes 14-0.
Thank you, Senator Favola.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Senator Deeds.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got 2 bills. The first one is Senate Bill 283. And the people from the Virginia Opry couldn't be here today. But what this bill is a simple designation bill. They ask that the Virginia Opry, which has been operating for about 28 years in Clifton Forge, be designated as the Virginia State Opry. They think it's going to help them with tourism, and they do a real good job. It's kind of a country music format modeled after the Grand Ole Opry.
Are there any questions to Senator Deeds? You're not going to ask him to sing?
Anything?
No.
Are you sure?
I didn't notice that one. His was a resolution.
Yeah. If it's a
little bit
song,
different?
if it's a
Okay.
song or, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Just a question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is there anyone here who wishes to speak in opposition to this wonderful designation? You dare?
I want to remind you, Madam Chair, my last designation bill was a state rock.
Move to report. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 283 be reported. Please record your votes.
Ayes 14, no zero.
That bill's reported.
Thank you very much. I've got 508, and I think there's an amendment to that. Is that correct? Both amendments, yes.
Senate Bill 508.
So Senate Bill 508, on line 29, introduced after medications, the first instance, strike rather than generic medications and insert at their market price. And then on line 29, introduced after physician, insert comma, provided that such brand name medication does not cost more than 50% of the price of a comparable generic medication.
A motion on those amendments.
I move the amendments.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the amendments to Senate Bill 508 be adopted. Those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Those amendments are adopted.
Now, Madam Chair, members of the committee, this was brought to me by a public school teacher and frankly, in the Covington system. She's allergic to she's got a certain condition and she's allergic to generic medication. And so the doctor she has specifically prescribes non-generic or name brand. That's more expensive. It's tough for a teacher, but she wanted to make sure she could get the drug she needs name brand instead of generic. The changes were made. I understand were the changes the amendments represent bring the law into compliance with a plan that the state already has. So. I don't think this bill at this point makes a significant change except to put it in the code instead of in policy.
Thank you. Are there any questions with regard to Senate Bill 508? Anyone here in opposition?
Move to report.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 508 be reported. Further discussion? Okay, record your votes.
Ayes 12, noes 1, and 1 abstention.
Thank you very much.
Bill's reported. Thank you. Senator McDougal.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have Senate Bill 519.
Senate Bill 519. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, this is an issue, and I've heard from some people in the last 24 hours that they had concerns, but just to give you a little bit of background, we have a historic church in Irvington, which is on the northern neck, and I'm sure Mr. Broadus will correct me if I get it wrong, but it was originally founded in 1735 and is on the National Historic Landmark and is a National Register of Historic Places. In 1965, the church incorporated, and there were 2,900 burial sites, and most of those are sold, a little over 2,400. But there was a separate burial entity, and that burial entity then merged in with the Historic Christ Church for them to become one entity. Now, the Historic Christ Church Foundation is now includes the burial entity and the church foundation. It's affiliated with the church, but they don't believe that because they're a nonprofit C4 that they are, in fact, a church pursuant to the code section. So they came to me and said their board was very concerned to make sure that they were complying with the law because not all of the money that comes in for burial plots goes specifically to the burial ground. Some of it goes to maintain the Historic Christ Church and the wall around the church and and the grounds. And so together, they've reduced their overhead, their cost, but they're trying to make sure they're in compliance. So when this went to Legislative Services, it came back and they said, well, let's not put in a definition for Historic Christ Church or a C4 entity. Let's just strike out that one word, soul. But that applies to everybody, not just Historic Christ Church. So I'm not trying to change the world of how cemeteries are operated. I just want to make sure Historic Christ Church is able to operate as they've come together in a more efficient manner by having the two entities together, but still able to keep up the old buildings and grounds. So, Madam Chairman, I think you will hear that the way the bill is drafted, there is concerns, but as I'm sitting thinking, would it be possible for us just to have a definition of church and say it includes Historic Christ Church Foundation, and that would alleviate their specific problems so that they don't get in trouble? Mr. Broadus is here to maybe give a more eloquent description of the foundation. He's brought pictures and all kinds of things if you would like to hear from him.
Okay, we'll take his testimony.
Do you want to unstrike and you have words?
So were you told to take that out?
Well, Madam Chairman, I know there's some others behind me who are going to express concerns about the way the bill is drafted. And like I said, between last night and today, I was approached by some people. They think that this could, in other states, if nonprofits are allowed to be owned by for-profit entities, it can create some mischief in for-profit cemeteries. And we do want to avoid that. But I do want to fix the problem for Historic Christ Church Foundation to ensure. And so while I was mulling things over on my way from courts up here, that was the solution that I came up with that was a little more focused to make sure that everybody else was not brought into the statute. Okay. Mr. Broadus.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is a photograph of the burying grounds and the church with which it's adjoined. Problem came about that we had a separate corporation operate the burying grounds for a number of years. It used all of the revenue from the burying ground sale of lots for the sole purpose of maintaining the cemetery. Therefore, under state law as it existed then and now, it was exempt from regulation by the Department of Professions and Occupations. In 2006, we merged the two corporations. Unfortunately, I have to acknowledge that due diligence wasn't quite what it should have been, and now some of the revenue from the sale of burial plots is used for purposes other than maintaining the cemetery itself. It's used to help defray the expenses of maintaining the church, which is a historic building. We call it the church, but it's not operated by us as a church. That's why we don't meet another part of the exemption statute. So our objective, and we brought this problem, we found the problem ourselves. We haven't been confronted by the department. We just want to make sure that we and our board members are in compliance with the law, that we have the opportunity to use the revenue for purposes that the foundation was created for. And we very much appreciate Senator McDougal's assistance in getting us this far and hope the committee will help us get across the goal line.
So, Senator McDougal, what is it that you think would fix this?
Madam Chairman, if you look at how the statute is constructed, and if I am looking on lines 14, I think is where Mr. Broadus said are the exemptions. It says state, county, city or town, or a church shall or not comply. If you added in either Historic Christ Church Foundation into that list, I realize it's creating a Christmas tree, or you could do it as a D, after E, you could say Section F, Historic Christ Church Foundation is a church as defined in Section A. Either way, you could do it. So I'm trying to get Historic Christ Church into that mix so that they're in compliance. I think this is a little unusual because the money that Mr. Broadus is talking about, it's going for the church building and the structure, which is at the same location where the graves are. So I think most of the individuals purchased grave sites there because of the church and the entire grounds. It wasn't just the burial plot. And so they want to make sure they're super concerned about being in compliance. They're all volunteers on this board, and they want to do the right thing. And they self-reported, which as an attorney is never a good idea. But as a result, here we are.
So, council, could we add what it is that Senator McDougal is suggesting?
We have some concerns. Madam Chair. We have some concerns with just adding in historic Christchurch, the name. We could come up with a definition that describes historic Christchurch fairly closely, something like that. I'd be happy to work with patron.
Madam Chairman, that's totally fine. We're not trying to get anybody else into this and trying to make sure we don't come into the larger section that people would be concerned about, but fix this one particular problem.
So could we just take this by till next week and fix the
Madam Chairman,
language?
that's fine,
Yes.
or I feel very comfortable if staff comes up with the definition they're comfortable includes historic Christchurch. I'm comfortable that it'll include historic Christchurch if the committee wanted to move it along.
Okay, let's do.
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
Ruff.
Do you have the date that the church was built?
Mr. Chairman, the church was started in 1735 was when it was.
It was completed in 1735.
Could that be the definition that you're,
The burying grounds were not started until the 1950s, but if you said a cemetery adjacent to a church
Built
in
in.
1735, that works.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we do that.
Madam Chairman.
Senator Donovan.
I'm sorry, just a question. I think this is a noble alignment of two entities to make sure that we protect historic landmarks, and it's innovative. Is there a way to describe the foundation as opposed to the church, where you have a foundation that has both a historic building and a cemetery? Because that may include some of the other historic buildings that we have in Virginia, and that seems like a more reasonable approach, but I don't know.
Madam Chairman, I have no objection to either approach. When we first presented this to Legislative Services, Mr. Broadus had actually suggested some language that said a non-stock corporation exempt under 501c3, which owns and operates a burial ground adjacent to a registered historic landmark, provided the corporation doesn't compensate its board and things. And that was, I think, originally concerning, but we're very much okay with that language. Because that was what we.
I would withdraw my motion.
So we'll just work on it.
Yes, Madam Chairman. I'm fine with however the committee does it, but thank y'all.
Madam Chair,
Senator McDougal.
one question for council. Under the definition of cemeteries themselves, or maybe there's an administrative code as well, but many facilities or complexes have base premise as well as supporting facility. Is this church a supporting or ancillary facility to the cemetery and therefore covered by the maintenance definition?
Madam Chairman, our reading of it in that, and you can see it in the bill lines 18 and 19, it says proceeds from the sale of all graves and entombments for the sole purpose of defraying the direct expenses of maintaining the cemetery. And so that's.
But that's my exact question, Madam Chair, is the definition of maintaining the cemetery. And if you were to imagine a ballpark may include stadiums and other support features with it. And so you're not necessarily just maintaining the grass. And that's sort of my question to council is the definition of cemetery. Is it a complex of cemetery and supporting structures, or solely those land area that cover graves or tombs only?
The definition under this section is only the cemetery grounds themselves, not doesn't say anything about supporting structure.
So let's just work on it.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So do you want us to come back next week, or do you want
Next
to
week.
just? move it forward. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
Thank you very much.
Senator Suderline.
I agree. But
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got Senate Bill 127, and the Senate Bill 127 deals with adding 2 county, city, town, or regional government geographic information system directors, commonly called GIS directors, as members of the Virginia Geographic Information Network Advisory, and it sets up the framework for that. The council, which is usually called VGIN, has existed for several years, and it oversees the development of GIS services across the Commonwealth, primarily with implementation of new 911 services and all the other reasons we use GIS in the Commonwealth. These 2 appointments, just so that would be envisioned by this, are a little bit different than some of the others. The idea is to have a stir of new members, these local GIS directors, so their appointments would actually only be for 2 years opposed to the usual 4. Senator Eben and I represent the Senate on it the previous 4 years, and most everyone else, the governor and the House, they have 2-year terms. Everyone else the governor puts on are 4, but these, the idea would be they'd be for 2 years, and that they're also, they can only serve 2 consecutive terms. And the hope is so that we regularly have different GIS directors from around the Commonwealth participating. And that's the bill.
Any questions?
Madam Chair.
Senator McPeck.
I noticed that the existing statute has 4 members of the House and 2 members of the Senate. Instead of adding members, did you consider reducing the number of House members, for instance?
Well, if you bring that bill, I will vote for it.
Go get your own bill.
Madam Chairman, Senator, your goal is to just get more local input into the process.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
And so most counties and cities have a GIS director, some have regional ones.
Anyone here in opposition to this bill?
Move to report.
Second.
Wrong government.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 127 be reported. Please record your votes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll start with committee members. Senator Vogel.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I have the state rock. Actually, I don't. I have Senate Bill 627. This is a bill that deals with the Virginia Public Procurement Act and the payment of contractors. And I will just give you a quick 1-minute background, and then I'm going to defer the remainder of my time to the people who've requested the bill, and they can perhaps explain it better than I can. Under the current law, just to make that clear, when a contractor is paid, he or she has 2 options. You can immediately pay the subcontractor, or you can inform the state agency or the locality or whomever it was that you did the work for and the subcontractor of your intention not to pay, and explain why, and then you can just withhold the payment or a portion thereof, and in the meantime, the subcontractor has to wait and wait and wait and wait. And as you can imagine, when one contractor is paid and can withhold those resources for an indefinite amount of time, I don't have to explain to you why that's an issue for those people downstream. So what this bill would say is when the principal contractor is paid, they have 7 days after which to pay the subcontractor, assuming that the performance has been consistent with the contract and been done properly. So with that, if you would allow me, I'd like to defer to the folks who have come to speak on behalf of the bill and who actually requested the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Hello.
We are small business, Virginia's SWAM, small business. We are the subcontractor in question. So when we're doing work for a general contractor, we assume all the risk. We make all the payments. We buy our supplies. We make our payroll. We pay our taxes, and we wait to get paid. It can take up to a year, depending on the size of the job and who the general contractor is. And if they're having other issues within the project, we are not aware of them. So when our folks call up the general contractor and say, hey, how are we looking on getting paid? Where's the invoice? Whatever, their response to us is, we haven't been paid yet, because it's pay when paid. We then have to wait further to find out when we're going to get paid. And we get no answer as to why they haven't been paid. And there's no way for us to actually look into that to find out how they're not getting paid. If our stuff is done and we're working, all we're asking for is that we get paid in a timely manner. We are not a bank. We are a contractor, a subcontractor to a general contractor, and we've performed our job, and we just want to get paid. So that's basically what we're after here, is just fair treatment.
Will you tell them who you are?
My name is Bill Paris. I'm with a company called Net 100. We started 30 years ago, and we've managed to survive that long. This is a friendly competitor of ours. He's also a small business, but he's also a veteran-owned business. So I'll let Pat speak a little bit.
I agree with what Bill said. My name is Patrick Barron. I'm a veteran-owned small business. February would be 16 years here in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I employ about 78 personnel and subcontract to about 40. About 90% of them reside in the Commonwealth. I brought a banter back and forth from my counsel and I on one of the contracts that were submitted to me about this paid when get paid. His first action and email back to me was, why in the hell would anybody sign this? And going forward, the risk that's been flowed down to subcontractors in financing these jobs without knowing when we're going to get paid or how we're going to get paid or how the project's even financed. They gut us. They want our reviewed financials. They want bonding. They want this before we start the job. And I ask for the letter of credit of how the job's being financed and how this is going, and I get nothing. If I tried to amend any of these contracts, we'll use somebody else. It's unfairly putting the risk on subcontractors. And like Bill said, we pay our hourly employee weekly, pay our bi-monthly employees on time, and we pay our vendors. This is completely unfair in sharing the risk one way. Thanks.
Do you have anyone else, Senator Vogel?
No, Madam Chair.
Is there anyone here in opposition to Senate Bill 627?
Madam Chair, Chris Nolan on behalf of the Associated General Contractors of Virginia. And I was asked to speak in opposition to this bill because it is a major rewrite of contract law. And the last portion of the bill is particularly concerning given that it states that it's not a condition precedent if the general contractor is not paid by the owner. That is not the contractor can't use that as a reason not to pay the subcontractor. And most of these contracts do have a I get paid when you get paid type of clause. This completely changes that to you get paid regardless of the job that you do, even if I don't get paid by the owner. So we definitely have concerns with the bill. If the bill does move forward, I think we'd want to talk to the patron a little bit more about it, but we do oppose the bill. So thank you.
Anyone else? Questions from the committee?
Madam Chair,
Senator Reeves.
maybe Senator Vogel, if you can't find agreement on it, maybe look at line 33 and take it from 1% per month to what the current interest rate is, and that might persuade some.
Well, one thing, Madam Chair, it might behoove us for me to have an opportunity to talk to, because I had not had an opportunity to talk to anybody who was in opposition to the bill. If we had that opportunity, it's certainly possible that there might not be a meeting of the minds, but if there was something that we could do that would sort of balance the equities here or make some movement in the direction for some of the people who understandably really do have a real issue, and it's putting people out of business. So that's ultimately what I'm trying to accomplish, and I don't want to do that in a way that actually hurts anybody upstream or downstream. So I'm prepared to have a further conversation, but again, it's the pleasure of the committee.
Madam Chairman, I would move that we carry the bill by for the week.
Second.
So we'll just carry it by for the week so you can have some additional conversation, but we will take this up.
Thank you,
next
Madam
week.
Chair.
Okay, Senator Lucas.
You guys.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. House Bill, I'm sorry, I got Senate Bill, House Bill similar. Senate Bill 601. Many Virginians experience barriers to getting to the polls on election day. There are usually lines, very long lines at the polls in early mornings or before the polls close. This trend can largely be attributed to the fact that voters go to the polls before and after work. Excuse me. There have been cases that voters having to leave the polls before casting their vote simply because they had to return to work. Currently, state agency managers and supervisors are encouraged to be flexible with employees' schedules on election day whenever possible in order to enable employees to vote prior to or after work. By adding election day as a state holiday will make it easier for state workers to get to the polls. This legislation will protect and expand the right to vote. The legislation may also help electoral boards recruit officers of elections to serve. Election Day was formerly a state holiday until 1989. Election Day is a holiday in 13 states, including Virginia's neighboring states of Maryland, West Virginia, and Delaware. Summary. Madam Chair, members of the committee, this bill would remove Lee Jackson Day and instead make Election Day a holiday. This legislation is revenue neutral. Making Election Day a state holiday will make it easier for Virginians to vote. It's a very simple bill.
Are there questions to the patron? Are there those here in favor of the legislation? Please come up.
Hello, my name is Christopher Goad. I live in Richmond, Virginia. I just support this. That's all there is to say to it.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Grinley Johnson. I'm the Deputy Secretary of Administration, and we support this bill. Thank you very much, Senator Lucas. You did a very eloquent job explaining this bill. Thank you.
Are there those here in opposition to the bill?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Ed Willis, and this bill is in violation of Virginia's Constitution, Article 1, Section 11, which stipulates that discrimination is forbidden. This bill, according to the Constitution, citizens of Virginia have the right to be free of discrimination, and that right shall not be infringed. This bill deliberately infringes on that right. Lee Jackson Day was established to promote tolerance, to teach children not to hate. Martin Luther King was added to the holiday by the Virginia General Assembly, and then they were separated. But certainly Martin Luther King wanted in his I Have a Dream speech for all children to be free of discrimination. And because of the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution, which should include everyone, that protection clause should include those children by protecting this holiday. The holiday can be ignored by people who do not want to recognize it, but certainly the holiday is not harmful to anyone. And certainly the state should keep the holiday and could combine it with Martin Luther King's state holiday if that would be a solution to get Senator Lucas what she asked for.
Madam Chair.
Excuse me, Senator Lucas, is there any other opposition? Senator Lucas.
Yes, Madam Chair, and I hope I'm correct in these facts, but when Martin Luther King was separated from the Lee Jackson bill, I think there were people who worked on trying to get it separated for well over 13 years. And so there was no desire to have them joined again.
Okay, further discussion from the audience. Senate Bill 601 is before us.
Move the report.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 601 be reported. Is there additional discussion? Please vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Ayes 9, noes 3.
Thank you, Senator Lucas. Senator Donovan.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have two bills before the committee today. The first is Senate Bill 362. Madam Chairman, this is a bill that seeks to have Veteran Services work with our university hospitals to provide hyperbaric services for both PTSD and for traumatic brain injury to our veterans, and to contract with them at that time to collect data. This is a therapeutic modality that has been shown to be helpful anecdotally for these two issues, but access to the hyperbaric therapy is limited by the fact that these centers are all located at our universities and large hospitals, and the FDA at this time only provides for those services to be used for very specific things like wound care. So this is an opportunity for us to both collect data and provide a therapeutic modality to our veterans that may actually help them with some of the issues that plague them most significantly after their service.
Thank you. Any questions to Senator Donovan? Anyone here in opposition to Senate Bill 362? Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 362 be. Okay. Okay. Senate Bill 362, it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 362 be reported and re-referred to Finance. Okay, we're back to voice vote. Okay, so please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This is now Senate Bill 363, and this is familiar to this body as we passed it out of this body last year. This is an ongoing project to create a single portal for economic development that interconnects all things education, both technical, associates, and four-year, with workforce data about what jobs are available, how to connect business to education. It has been worked with on the last year in workforce with Megan Healy, but she has had her focus on aligning the portal for the workforce boards and the federal dollars that channel to them. So, Madam Chairman, I'm going to ask if I may have the indulgence of the committee to bring this back next week, because how we take this into next year, it's going to require some additional planning. And so we've just had kind of a meetings of the minds of all the agencies that would be involved. And if I may ask you to pass this by for this week, we'll bring it back next week.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Bell. Senator Bell has a whole bunch.
Fortunately, two were passed by for the day. Do I get a quantity discount? Madam Chair, do you want me to just start with the lowest number? I think 259.
Wherever you wish.
Okay. 259, if I'd be so kind. This is a fairly simple bill. It basically updates the Code of Virginia on library records in accordance.
Any question with regard to this piece of legislation? Anyone in the audience in opposition to Senate Bill 269?
Second.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 269 be reported. Can we vote now on this?
Okay, hang on.
Okay, so I think we can. So please vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hang on, Senator
I think
Bell.
you can vote
Hang
up
on,
there,
Senator Bell.
John.
I got you. There, you should be good. All right. Hang on. That's 14, no 0.
Okay, that one passes.
Next bill.
I was late.
This bill is SB 368. Very simple bill. Applies to architectural engineering, and it just changes the population size on it from 78,000 to 50,000. By doing this, it would allow 12 additional localities to use the higher limits that the code provide. It does not impose any mandates. It basically just gives the same ability to those over 50,000, which would apply. This was actually one that was brought at the recommendation of Virginia Association of Governmental Purchasing, which is made up of 1,000 state, local, public procurement officials across the Commonwealth.
Any questions with regard to Senate Bill 368? Anyone in the audience in opposition to Senate Bill 368?
Move to report.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 368 be reported. All in favor, please vote.
Ayes 13, noes 1, 1 abstention.
Okay, that one is reported.
The last one I have for today, Madam Chair, is SB 487, and this is a Public Procurement Act change with the architectural professional engineering term contract limitations area. It basically, the term contracts for projects performed in one-year contract terms changes it from 6 to 10 million. And let's see, that is the only change. Okay, and sorry, there is line amendments to this that we agreed to. Was that substitute? Substitute?
There is a substitute.
Move the substitute.
Moved and seconded that the substitute be adopted. All those in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? Okay, the substitute's before us.
Madam Chair, it basically just clarifies the change from 6 to 10 million, and basically that strikes line 20. Other than that, it makes no other change. I believe this will operate. I stand corrected. It's 8 million, not 10 million. I apologize. I'm looking at an old printout. It went from 6 to 8 versus 6 to 10, which was in the original bill.
So, Senator Donovan.
Just a point of order, Madam Chair, is this not the same part of the code as the previous bill?
Senator?
Madam Chair, it is. The only reason we kept it separate is that frankly, we didn't know we had Peace and Valley, but I don't see the problem with combining the two if the committee were to want to do that.
John, you're better off sending both of those. Send them both.
Just send it over.
In case there's not Peace and Valley on the other side.
Right.
We got a lot to do.
Okay, so high-level discussion.
Madam Chair, we actually found some additional language which we think we all hung up in there. I don't know if the council clerk Adams, why the language was added after line 41, starting with the word nothing, ending with the word overpass, unless there's a good explanation we want to strike that. On line 41, sentence starting with nothing, ending with overpass, so we didn't intend to add that in there. Subsection C.
You're striking or overpass?
Yeah, we don't want that sentence in.
Or overpass. The whole thing.
Looks like it, because they're flying by the seat of their pants. So what are you striking now?
The,
Italicized underline, 41 through 42.
line 41,
Starting with nothing.
sentence starting with nothing, ending with overpass.
Move the line amendment. Second.
Moved and seconded that we adopt that amendment. All those in favor, please say.
Some discussion. Generally, the VDOT issues have been dealt with separate from other construction issues. Is this going to step on the toes there?
Madam Chair, only if we left this in there, and this is an error that it's in there. That's why we want to take that back out.
So all those in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
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 So that is now gone.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Any additional questions?
Madam Chairman.
Senator Ruff.
Patrick worked extremely hard on rewriting these things a couple of years ago, so I want to hear his comments.
Yeah, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Patrick Cushing, representing American Institute of Architects and the American Council of Engineering Companies, so architects and engineers. We worked with Senator Bell on this bill to raise the limits, the two limits that you see in here. The language that's in subsection C was not in the introduced bill, was not in any of the discussions we had with Senator Bell or Loudoun County. So we're not quite sure where they came from, but what the amendments would do, reading it again, not sure of where they came from, they would exempt essentially VDOT projects, where I would say it would be any highway, bridge, tunnel, or overpass project from subsection C, lines 37 to 41. So you would then, for those types of projects with competitive negotiation for A&E services, would not be able to award a project to more than one offeror. Yeah, and so it makes some pretty structural changes into how architectural engineering contracts would work in those instances, and I don't think they're contemplated in the original bill. So again, I think it seems to be an error. And we are okay with the substitute adopted with the line amendment adopted to remove the sentence on lines 41 and 42. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move the substitute as amended.
Moved and seconded that the substitute as amended be adopted. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Oh, no, board.
Oh.
It's working now.
Ayes 14, no 0.
Thank you. Is that it?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Senator McPike.
Madam Chair, I have Senate Bill 380 with a couple of line amendments to start out with.
Move the line amendment.
We have a handout, we'll have to read them out. 380. And that's to clean up some of, I would say, a little bit more fuzzy language that's in the draft to make it more straightforward, I'll say.
So, Senate Bill 380, line 21, the introduced bill after history, strike, or good faith assurances. Second Amendment, line 26, after laws, add, however, such criteria shall not apply to transportation and transportation construction. And Third Amendment, line 91 through 93, strike everything on those lines.
Motion on those amendments?
I move amendments.
Moved and seconded that we adopt those amendments.
Thank you, Madam
All
Chair.
all in
Sorry.
favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay.
Thank you. As the bill is now adjusted, this focuses and allows local government, gives them the option to include criteria, and you'll see on sections lines 21 through 25 in regards to the background of the companies that are competing for public work to ensure that not only the contractor but the subs have complied with OSHA, other federal laws in terms of they're actually pre-qualifying, as well as participating in an apprenticeship programs approved by state agencies and U.S. Department of Labor. Additionally, maintaining a list of potential records of compliance with state and federal law. This basically gets at a point of helping to create a framework where local governments, especially with regards to safety and other things, can have some pre-screening in terms of safety records of people that are going to be working on public projects. And that's really what this bill gets to, is to improve the context of which we would allow a local government to adopt that procedure.
Any questions to Senator McPike?
Madam Chair.
Senator Reeves?
Senator McPike, how do we, wouldn't you think that it's rather subjective to possess the moral and business integrity? How do you gauge that objectively instead of subjectively?
Madam Chair, I'd respond to the Senator. Really, it's the Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3 that are providing the framework of it. I mean, I agree with the Senator that they are a little bit more fuzzy in the description, but they are enumerated in the following items.
Senator Donovan?
If they're enumerated in the 3 notations, why use the words in your introduction? I think because they are nondiscrete words open to vastly wide interpretation, that you ought to just say that they may bid based on these criteria and not use adjectives to describe those criteria.
Madam Chair, I believe a line amendment to correct that would be on line 19 after possesses would be to delete the moral and business integrity and, so it would read possesses reliability and include and good faith performance that is required of a responsible bidder.
Madam Chair.
Senator Reeves?
Senator McPike, I wish I had McDougal in here because he's better at this than me, but wouldn't you want to just take out whether a bidder possesses the reliability that will assure good faith? Because you can judge reliability based on past performance. It'd be hard for me to judge moral and business integrity because that's a broad thing, but I think you can judge reliability based on completion of the bidder, any potential, those things that you said.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think
that would be a better line amendment.
That's right. So, Madam Chair, I believe what the Senator is suggesting is from line 19 after a bidder, deleting the remainder of line 19, also through line 20 until you end at the word performance. So you would read as whether a bidder performance that is required of a responsible bidder, disconnecting those. And I'd rely on counsel to also verify that that would.
So what's the amendment?
I'm not quite seeing how that, so as if we deleted from line 19 after bidder possesses through line 20, good faith performance, it would read, any locality may include in the invitation to bid criteria that may be used in determining whether a bidder that is required of a responsible bidder. So that's.
What?
Senator Reeves,
Possesses a history.
Possesses a history.
Read.
Possesses the history of performance. I think that closes the loop on this one.
I'd be happy to go again at it. All right, so it's any locality may include in the invitation to bid criteria that may be used in determining whether a bidder possesses, strike the moral and business integrity, take that out, possesses, possesses reliability or possesses reliability or some, you legalese guys get that will assure the good faith and performance, because that's the only metric that you can actually gauge based on past performance.
Yep.
I'm not a great wordsmith, but I forget what I used the first time, and I'm getting tired.
So we could strike after possesses the moral and business integrity and insert possesses a history of, so history of reliability that will assure good faith performance.
Did you want to take a stab at that?
And that would line up
I was
with.
just going to say that the senator is on this committee. It might be better to actually get the wording right.
Yeah.
And come back.
I'm fine with that. Let's take it by. Yeah. We'll get a clean substitute out. Madam Chair, if we're okay with that, taking by for the week?
Yes.
The next bill is Senate Bill 388.
388, okay.
This bill sets out to help clean up some of the conflict in the code language. It's really set, as you see, the primary change to the code section is adding or the date of the tenant vacates the dwelling unit, whichever occurs last. The existing code, there's an issue where the sequence was not clear, whether they were turning in the keys, whether they're ending the actual residency and contract. And so this is a follow-up to help clean up this code section and make it clear which is the end date at which the deposit be returned. So I'm happy to have also Chip Dix come up and explain a little bit more of the history involved in this.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, Chip Dix on behalf of the Realtors, and I'll be candid, we missed it like 4 years ago when we changed this code section, and if you look at the lines, if you look at lines 23 and 24, it has the verbatim language on line 24 or the date the tenant vacates the dwelling unit, whichever occurs last. And on line 14 and 15, for whatever reason, that phrase got left out. So this is just going back and correcting something that was brought to our attention. And I'm not aware of any opposition. I talked to Christy Maher, and she, Poverty Law Center doesn't have a position on the bill.
Any questions?
Move the report.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 388 be reported. All those in favor, please record your votes. Thank you. Senator Hashmi.
Madam Chairwoman, the SB 403 is a bill that finalizes the process of transferring the Virginia War Memorial Carillon into the control of the DGS. And as you may recall, that this was a process that began in 2016, and it is important completion of that final stage. The Carillon is listed as a National Register of Historic Places. It is in the 10th District, and it is also listed in Virginia Landmarks Registry. It was built in 1932 to serve as a lasting memorial to the heroic efforts of Virginia's World War I servicemen and servicewomen. And in 2000, the Code of Virginia was amended to allow the city of Richmond to control the Carillon, including its upkeep, maintenance, and improvement. But then in 2016, an Appropriations Act directed the DGS to resume control and custody of the Carillon. And so this is the final step of Phase 2, where the Carillon is going to be transferred back to the custody and control of the DGS. There are no financial impacts on the DGS as a result of the transfer, and the City of Richmond is supportive of this measure.
Any questions?
Madam Chair.
Okay. Senator McPeak?
Is this the patron's first bill being presented In this body?
In this committee, yes.
All right. Just wanted to call the attention of the committee that that is in fact the case.
Anyone here in opposition to this wonderful piece of legislation? Okay, so the Senate Bill 403 is before us. Moved and seconded, Senate Bill 403 be reported. Please record your votes. Can we record?
Yes, ma'am, hang on.
Okay, come on.
All right, there we go.
You can vote up there.
I can, okay.
Ayes 13, no 0, 1 abstention.
Senator Ruff, you want to go from, you can go from here.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senate Bill 583 maybe?
Exactly.
563.
563, thank you. This deals with the EVA process for bidding. We have a great system going that gets the public involved, an opportunity to bid. What this does is add to that a modification that when it will tell the public who won the bid and if there were any modifications from what the original contract was. This, we believe, will be a good transparency so that people will know what's happening.
Any questions with regard to Senate Bill 563?
Move to report. Opposition.
Anyone in the audience opposed to this marvelous piece of legislation?
Anybody still awake?
Move to report.
Please. So moved and second that Senate Bill. Oh, you all are getting punchy. 563 be reported. Please record your votes. Okay. Senator
14,
Peterson,
no
we
zero.
were about to adjourn and you show up.
Just in time.
Okay.
This will be very quick.
Senator Peterson.
Is court still going?
It is still going. Okay. Let me, two of these I can do almost immediately, with the will of the committee, obviously. Oh, wow, you can kind of see yourself there. Right? That is handy. All right. Senate Bill 416, if I could take that by a week, I need to work with a constituent who couldn't wordsmith that a bit, but Senate Bill 416.
Okay.
And then
Without objection?
likewise, Senate Bill 206, Korea Advisory Board. I need to get a couple people here. I wasn't aware this was on the docket till literally 30 minutes ago. And I do have constituents interested in this, and they are not present. So if I could continue that for a week. And again, I apologize.
Okay.
Which takes me to Senate Bill 418.
Okay.
Cooperative procurement. And let me preface by saying, Madam Chair, that when Senator Ruff had his committee on procurement, commission on procurement about 5 years ago, I sat on it, and I thought we did a very good job, and I felt like we reached a good balance in terms of what we were doing. I do have a jurisdiction I represent, a small jurisdiction that is not happy with the inability to do cooperative procurement. I've explained to them, we reached the resolution we did, but they had in their legislative agenda, they asked me to bring a bill forward that essentially would roll that back. And so I bring that before you. And I know I've talked with my colleagues who oppose this bill, and I totally understand it, but since I am the sole senator representing that jurisdiction, here I am.
Okay. Any questions to Senator Peterson? Those in support?
Matt Bentke with the Virginia Contractor Procurement Alliance. Thank you, and very respectfully to the senator, we oppose the bill. This is a battle that was fought for many years There was a preliminary victory with Morgan Griffith many, many years ago, and then the procurement committee that Senator Ruff was leading came to the conclusion that cooperative procurement is not meant to be used for construction for more reasons than I can tell you, but we're opposed to it.
Others in opposition?
Madam Chairwoman, Committee, my name is Paul Davis. I'm President of the Virginia Association of Roofing Professionals. I'm also Vice President of Phoenix Roofing Company here in Richmond, Virginia. We oppose this bill. VARP, as we call it, we represent 180 member companies across the state of Virginia, comprised of roofing contractors, both residential and commercial, roofing design professionals, material manufacturers and suppliers. We want to ensure that the Commonwealth, the localities, our school districts are getting the best possible value for their dollar, as well as we want a promotion of open, transparent, and fair competition in the public marketplace. We don't think that this bill would help any of that. And also reiterating what Matt just stated further, the Virginia General Assembly in a bipartisan manner had previously addressed this cooperative procurement for construction, and it did so by first restricting its use, then by ultimately abolishing its use after finding continued abuses and faults with the practice. These issues are still prevalent, and VARP does not believe it practical or responsible to reinstitute cooperative procurement in construction for Virginia at any level. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is April McKelvey. I'm with Monarch Consulting Services. I'm here representing the International Institute of Building Enclosure Consultants as the vice president of our local chapter. We are strongly opposed to the expansion of cooperative procurement for use in taxpayer-funded construction. As a person in the industry, as a consultant in the industry, reaching my 17th year of practice, I am well aware that roofing is not a commodity. It is not something that you can purchase like copy paper, though copy paper would have different physical characteristics and performance characteristics, so does roofing materials, but the interface of those materials do not result in a life safety issue that roofing materials do. And this expansion of cooperative procurement for construction would really circumvent the design professional, and as the Virginia Building Code has given clear direction about the need for a design professional, again, we are in strong opposition to the expansion.
Madam
Thank
Chair, can I follow up with a question?
Senator McPike has a question.
I appreciate it. You stated that this, by adding the exclusion, basically 200,000, somehow that's avoiding a design professional. Is it in your experience that, for instance, many localities may have a design spec, for instance, a curb cut type, and may want a curb cut or a ramp, and may replicate the same design that's designed by a professional engineer to replicate it across many communities that apply to multiple jurisdictions as a standard, for instance. In that circumstance, is your experience that that's bypassed a design engineer?
I think I don't understand the question.
I'm trying to phrase in a question.
Certainly. Well, I think to answer your question is, in particular for roofing and other modifications, if you were to do cooperative procurement and you were to modify an office building or certain rooms, other interfaces come in with electrical, in particular when we speak about roofs. Roofs are very dynamic. They're not a commodity. They're material and labor, and they require engineering services. It's not something somebody just should say, we should replace a commercial building roof or a portion of it without incorporating. There's wind design, there's building code. Design professionals always encouraged and recommended. And it's quite frequently circumvented with cooperative procurement.
Are you going to speak?
I'm going to speak, and as you're about to adjourn, Madam Chairman, and in appreciation for your time, I'm going to simply say ditto is my official testimony. So thank you.
Well said, yeah. Good check.
I've done my best.
It's been moved and seconded that the bill be passed by indefinite leave. Discussion on the motion.
Madam Chair.
Senator McPike.
So, I mean, it seems like, as I read it, Senator, this is a carve-out of 200,000 and below on cooperative procurement. correct? Since it's an exclusion section? Yes. So you're talking about, Madam Chair, is you're really talking about a small universe. You're not buying a commercial roof at $200,000. You just don't, unless it's a very small building, you're not getting much. So I hear a lot of the discussion from the testimony, but frankly, a lot of those are bid specs that are performed by design professionals for actually replication and hasn't bypassed any A&E whatsoever in my experience. And so I'm not sure where you could have, for instance, a interlocality agreement between localities, for instance, in the updating ADA design standards for curb ramps that apply to multiple jurisdictions, why they couldn't cooperate to have someone perform that work. I really don't see the conflict or harm in creating this small carve-out, and I would ask that the body reject the PBI and actually pass the bill.
Madam Chairman, speaking of that motion, Senator McPike, before you got here, this came up in the Roanoke community. You had this happen with a company that came into the Roanoke area and got the business. The local roofers that were capable of doing the job were never even told that it was going to be bid. They are tax-paying citizens of that community. In all fairness, they should have had a chance to look at and lose or not lose that battle. So I think that's the real issue, is should we allow taxpayers' money to be drawn out of a community when it might be able to stay in the community and be reinvested?
Further discussion. The motion is to pass by indefinitely Senate Bill 418. Please vote. Nope.
Ayes 10, noes 3, 1 abstention.
Okay, I have one bill, and if you all would please excuse me, I'd like to do it from here. Thank you. I have Senate Bill 343, which and let me at least tell you what it is. Senate Bill 343 adds to the residential property disclosure statement provided by the Real Estate Board an additional required disclosure for the buyer to beware in regard to the condition or regulatory status of an impounding structure or dam, either on the property or under the ownership of the common interest community of which the owner is a mandatory member. This bill is coming as a recommendation of the Virginia Housing Commission. So basically that a person in buying a property should be told whether or not there is a dam on the property. So that's essentially what this bill does. So, yes. So if any additional questions in regard to this, Chip Dix is there to tell you everything there is to know about dams on properties.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 343 be reported. Is there further discussion? Please vote.
Ayes 14, no 0.
You have one? I didn't see you. Okay. Senator Mason.
Madam Chair, Senate Bill 584. There's a line amendment on line 198. It reads, timeshare interest means the interest acquired by a purchaser in a timeshare. We should strike acquired by a purchaser and seemingly put a purchaser requires. Acquires. It seems my mother, the English teacher, appeared on the scene, Madam Chair.
She didn't work very well with you.
Yes, ma'am.
So
I move that amendment.
So moved.
Moved and seconded that we adopt the amendment. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the Common Interest Community Board has had a bit of heartburn with this section of the code because, quite frankly, a fair amount of it's kind of a mess. Senator Ruff and I go and build a timeshare, 50 units of a timeshare. That's a project. Once we complete it and we put it in a program and link it with a Florida and a Atlanta and Augusta and Williamsburg timeshare, it becomes a program. Well, those terms are used interchangeably like 17 times throughout the course of this code. We're just trying to clean that up. Also, we talk about acquiring an interest in a timeshare. Well, often we talk about acquiring a timeshare. We're really acquiring an interest in it. So that's the second part of what we're cleaning up, just using the proper vernacular. But the real gist of so those are the technical cleanup measures, and it's a number of times throughout the bill, as you can see from the italics. But the gist of the bill is on line 233 to 236. So when this community interest boards began regulating, they noted that they were regulating types of timeshare projects, programs that do not exist in Virginia. So in Florida, for an example, there's a vehicle that is a timeshare trust that doesn't exist in Virginia. So there was a question: can we actually regulate those programs in the bundle that are participating in Virginia? Their advice was to come to us and make sure that we say that they can. So what this says, that if they were created under a situs timesharing agreement, so if it was created in the state that it exists in, then that is legal and done properly. We can regulate it in a program in Virginia, as we have been doing for some time now.
Senate Bill 584.
My only question, are you the official timeshare sponsor now? Did you inherit that from Congress?
We have got some timeshares in Madam Chair, Senator Ruff, we got some timeshares in Williamsburg. Come see them. I do not have a personal interest in any of those, sir.
Anyone in the audience in opposition to Senate Bill 584?
Move for report.
Second.
Moved and seconded that Senate Bill 584 be reported. Please vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members of the committee.
I think that's the last person, member of the committee, to present a bill, and I doubt very seriously we're going to get anyone else over here from courts. So, so the committee will rise.